You have nothing, he says. Peter, is this even possible?
Okay, in the history of sports, have we seen guys burn bridges and come? Yes, of course, and I don't think the bridge is necessarily burned. Financially, it is possible if Dez Bryant is willing to talk and say, okay, I tested the market. I saw that maybe I'm not going to make the same money I was making with the Cowboys. I would take less to play for Dallas. So, yes, I'm just GM, front office, player. Yes, of course it's still doable, and they haven't placed anyone in that spot as their number one wide receiver since Dez left. And yes, Jason Witten was a bit of a surprise piece of news to the Cowboys. They weren't planning on him being gone. That said, it's not cut and dry, it's not dollar bills, and it's certainly not something you can just look at on paper. It's an emotional game as well, and the way that thing ended, I'm not sure Dez wants to swallow his pride, go back, take less money to a team that openly released him, and they had comments afterwards saying they are better off and they are confident without Dez Bryant on the roster. It takes a strong man, a confident man, and a guy who is not afraid of what others might think of him to say, you know what, you cut me, I tested the market, I'll take less money and come back to you. It's very rare to see any professional athlete, the most competitive human beings we have on this planet, say, yeah, you know what, I'll swallow my pride before even getting to test it with another one.
Yeah.
I think he would almost rather take less money somewhere else and prove the Cowboys wrong.
Yeah, Dion is spot on with everything except for what he said at the end. He's spot on with talking about Jason Witten, saying that they didn't expect Jason Witten to retire. But then towards the end, he said they have nothing. They have nothing. I disagree. They got some players now. I mean, they got Allen Hurns, who they brought in, who I expect to have a decent season. Terrence Williams, Cole Beasley, of course, and the list goes on. After that, Tavon Austin they brought in, and I'm pretty sure Scott Linehan's going to figure out a way to use him. But Dez Bryant is a guy that's first in touchdowns, third in receptions in Cowboys history. This is a monster you're bringing back. Now, you don't have to bring him back in the same role that he was once in. That's what everybody's assuming. You're going to bring him back. He's going to ask for the same amount of money. You got to throw him the same amount of balls. No, this is like a relationship. Somebody taking a break. She looks at him, he looks at her and says, you know what, we're going to get back together, but we're going to compromise. We're going to think about what we're bringing to the table and look at this differently so we can have a different end goal. This is about finances and feelings. If they can figure out the finances, Dez and the Cowboys can get out their feelings.
Can I push back on that? You're talking about this relationship.
Yeah.
You're talking, okay, so say hypothetically you're with a person and they cheat on you or they say, hey, I like someone else more, we don't want you anymore. You test the market a little bit. Do you feel like you would ever want to go back to that person and say, hey, I'll accept you back, but it's under these terms?
Not in those situations. If the relationship ends healthy and you guys are like, you know what, we're long distance, let's take a break and test the market, then that's fine. But if it is scorched earth, if it is Dez Bryant sitting down with Jane Slater and saying, those were Garrett guys, these are quotes, I was in an unfair situation, they know who they are, I'm not going to say their names, but they know and I know, that's the kind of stuff that's like, that got messy and you are not going back. Also, Deion Sanders saying that that's the best fit for him. Is it the best fit for him? I feel like if it was the best fit for Dez, they would have made it work, whether it was financially or whatever. Clearly, there was some separation, I'm not even going to say tension, but lack of chemistry between Dak Prescott and Dez Bryant. Dak Prescott came out this week and said, we don't need to operate with a wide receiver one. Scott Linehan was asked about it by Jane Slater yesterday, and he said, we don't operate like that. We don't think that we need a number one wideout. And if he's out on the field, you know he's going to get double coverage if he's with the Dallas Cowboys. The way I look at it, I was listening to Chris Harris talk about what they're doing in Denver, and he was glowing about Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton, the kid out of SMU that the Cowboys could have taken at 19th in the first round, fell to the second round to Denver. That, I think, might be a sting for Cowboys fans this year.
I don't believe Dez Bryant is going to get double coverage. I believe at this point in his career, teams are bold enough to
In Dallas?
In Dallas, wherever he goes. They're bold enough to say, Dez Bryant, you're a little bit older, you're not as fast, you can't jump as high, beat us. And that's what it's like for every older receiver towards the end of his career. And I disagree with both of you guys when it comes to relationships that get messy, whether it's somebody in their feelings, a scorched earth, or somebody get cheated on. How many times have we heard about a friend or looked in the distance and heard about a relationship, 2 weeks later we're at a bar and we're like, oh,
you're back together?
They back together?
Yeah.
Okay, and somehow they figure it out. That's life.
We could talk about
this is football.
We could talk about Bieber and Selena a lot, and I think the Biebs and her will end up together forever.
I hope so. I really do.
I do feel like the toothpaste might be out of the tube. I think it's more on Dez Bryant. I think if Dez Bryant was watching the show right now, and I know he does watch the show, I would be curious to think what he would hear that 31 other teams have had the chance to sign him for 2 months now, and he's sitting on the street, and he's going to go back to the one team that said, we're not, for less money.
Oh, you love me now because Jason Witten went to the booth?
I feel like there's got to be
love me now?
ego.
That's what I
understand.
As a professional athlete, you have been on multiple teams. You played for 3 different teams, and you signed with the Browns at the end. A team cuts you and says, you're not worth this money? Okay, I'll come back to you for less?
I don't think you guys understand that. Even though it seems like Dez Bryant is on the couch hoping that somebody picks up the phone and calls him, the leverage is in his hand. Like, Dez Bryant is, regardless of how you want to look at it, he's one of the best receivers to ever play this game.
I'm shocked he's not signed,
Maybe he doesn't want to be signed. At this point in his career, why does he want to go waste his time at OTAs and go to training camp and beat up his legs when he could sit at home and wait for something to happen towards the middle of the summer, even in training camp? It might be a situation where the Cowboys are looking at their offense, and all of a sudden in training camp they're thinking, we ain't got what it takes. Let's bring in our dog. And all of a sudden, that pit bull breaks off the leash, and Dez Bryant is back throwing up the X. I feel like Dez, I don't think it's a perfect fit in Dallas. It's a good fit. Dez Bryant can fit anywhere, and he doesn't have to be a number 1. Let's keep that in mind. Dez Bryant come back as a number 2, put up 75 catches, 800 or 900 yards, and still that's one hell of a season for a wide receiver at his age.
I would like him to go somewhere like Green Bay. I know Aaron Rodgers is why would he do that, but somewhere where he's got a Devontae Adams alongside of him, or somewhere that he can tell the Cowboys, look, I want him to have that victory lap of revenge.
Sure.
Like, you want me now that Jason Witten left and you guys have nothing because you didn't draft anybody down in our hometown in Dallas for this draft, and now you want me? I would love to see him go and thrive somewhere else.
And I would love the drama of it all. I'd rather see him in a Redskins, Eagles, or Giants jersey
I feel you on that.
than a Cowboys jersey. I want to see him score 2 touchdowns and do the X. Like, that to me, if he's the competitor that I know he is, I think there's got to be a little piece of him, and you call it petty, you can call it whatever it is. A little piece of him that would love to score a touchdown on the Cowboys in Dallas and say, I'm right here.
No question.